Have you ever wondered how countries manage to coexist peacefully on a global stage, despite their numerous differences? Well, the secret lies in international law. This fascinating field of law is the set of rules, norms, and standards generally recognized as binding between states. It's the invisible glue that holds the global community together, establishing norms for states across a broad range of domains, including war and diplomacy, economic relations, and human rights. The intrigue lies in the fact that international law differs from domestic legal systems. It is primarily applicable to states, not individuals, and operates largely through consent, since there is no universally accepted authority to enforce it. It's a delicate dance of diplomacy and negotiation, where states can choose to abide by or breach the law. Moreover, international law is divided into public and private sectors. Public international law covers rules with an international origin, while private international law governs cases with a foreign element. So the dance of diplomacy and negotiation between nations is choreographed by the smooth rhythm of international law. But where did this concept of international law originate? Let's take a journey back in time, all the way to the ancient Romans. They were the ones who first conceptualized an initial framework, a concept they called ius gentium, or law of nations. This was a set of principles that governed the interactions between different peoples of the world. Fast forward through centuries of history, and you'll see this idea evolving, transforming, and adapting to the changing world. As states began to negotiate interstate agreements, the concept of ius gentium took on new significance. It became a guiding principle for these negotiations, a common language that transcended national boundaries. As we moved into the modern era, the sources of international law expanded. International customs, treaties, and general principles of law recognized by most national legal systems became part and parcel of this evolving legal tapestry. Thus, the seed of international law planted by the ancient Romans has grown into a towering tree that shades the entire globe. But what makes up the fabric of international law, you may ask? Well, it's a rich tapestry woven from various threads, each playing a crucial role in creating the bigger picture. First, we have international custom. This is the practice that states follow out of a sense of legal obligation. It's like an unspoken rule, recognized and respected by nations, shaping their behavior on the global stage. Then we have treaties. These are formal agreements between countries, setting out rights, obligations, and procedures. They're like contracts, binding participants to their terms. Treaties play a significant role in turning national laws into international ones. For instance, when a treaty grants national jurisdiction to a supranational tribunal like the International Criminal Court, national law ascends to the international level. Lastly, we have general principles of law. These principles are recognized by most national legal systems and form the bedrock of international law. They include concepts like justice, equality, and good faith, principles that guide nations in their interactions with one another. But it doesn't stop there. National laws and constitutions can also integrate international legal obligations into domestic law. This interplay between national and international law creates a dynamic, complex system. So, the fabric of international law is woven with threads of international customs, treaties, and principles, all intertwined with national legal systems. This intricate weave forms the robust yet flexible structure we know as international law. But how inflexible is international law and where does it falter? Let's dive in. International law operates largely on consent. It is a dance that nations perform together, each choosing their steps but maintaining an overall rhythm. It's a dance that's fluid and flexible, a dance that can change with the music of global politics. However, because it is primarily applicable to states and not individuals, and because there is no universally accepted authority to enforce it, this dance can sometimes falter. It's like a dance floor where the rules are agreed upon, but there's no bouncer to step in when someone breaks them. States may choose to not abide by international law, and even to breach a treaty. The consequences of these violations can vary. They can be met with disapproval by others, which in the world of global politics can carry a surprising amount of weight. In some cases, these violations can result in coercive actions, ranging from diplomatic and economic sanctions to war. This is where the flexibility of international law becomes a flaw. It's a dance that relies on the willingness of the dancers to stay in step. If one decides to break the rhythm, the whole dance can stumble. While international law guides the global dance of diplomacy, its voluntary nature and lack of enforcement mechanisms can lead to missteps and stumbles. So what should we take away from this brief exploration of international law? At its core, international law serves as a guide for states, dictating norms across a wide array of domains. Its roots stretch back to antiquity, with its modern concept shaped by varied sources like international custom and treaties. However, it's not without its limitations, operating largely through consent with no universally accepted enforcement authority. Remember, understanding international law is like learning a new dance, complex, nuanced, and absolutely fascinating.